here are the three teams. You pick three teams, pick the winner of the game. You pick the winner of the game against the spread, and then you total the points for the game for both teams. There are three games. Here you go. Notre Dame minus 26 versus South Florida. Notre Dame minus 26 versus South Florida. Second game is Wake Forest versus NC State minus 3. Wake Forest versus NC State, and NC State is minus 3. The last game is Boston College versus Duke minus 6. So it's Boston College versus Duke minus 6. You pick your teams and email it to Andy Hunter. And his email address is ahunter, AHUNTER, at Culpepper, CULPEPER, wood.com. That's AHUNTER at CULPEPER, wood.com. So let's see how that works, and we'll have some fun with that, and someone will win a nice gift certificate to Chestnut Grill, as we appreciate their support over the years. Make sure you tell your friends to tune in T&D Facebook. That's what we're streaming, and that's how we're seeing. And if anybody has any questions, just give me a call and I'll help you through that. So moving along, I'm ready to turn it over to our Hall of Fame coach, Willie Jeffries. Thank you, Willie.
Unmute yourself.
Okay, how about now?
That's good.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, buddy, for being so attentive. I want to say to our fans, we thank you all so much for tuning in and the effort that we put forth, especially Charles, starting with Charles and all of the guys that make this possible. And we are loyal to our fans, and we're just so happy that we're able to have our Orangeburg Touchdown Club. Without further ado, no jokes today. I have some new ones, and you will be getting those. So be sure to tune in. You don't want to miss one. Chris Clark. Chris is the sports editor at the Times and Democrat newspaper, and he does a great job watching all the games, checking out the statistics, and presenting us with players of the week. So without further ado, let's bring in Chris Clark, sports editor of the Times and Democrat newspaper.
Thanks, Coach. Well, we're 3 weeks completed in the Skeeza football season, and we have 3 T&D region teams that are unbeaten, including Orangeburg Prep, Andrew Jackson Academy, and Holly Hill Academy. Meanwhile, our South Carolina High School League teams are scrimmaging and practicing to get going with games next week. So they'll play starting on September 25th. Among those season opening contests that we look forward to next week are Edisto at Barnwell, and Orangeburg Wilkinson will be hosting Gilbert. We've got new region matchups to look at this year, and they're going to offer some real interesting games for most of our high school league programs. And of course, they're playing all their region games first or as early as they can to go ahead and get those in. And that's going to make it real interesting. Of course, the reality of what the coaches and the players and fans are dealing with.
You can't do stuff. You got to calm down.
Holly Hill Academy's week 3 opponent was unable to
Do
play.
you want your face on there? Okay, you're right.
They didn't have that game, and they're moving on with their season. So hopefully in the coming weeks that won't be the case for more of our area teams, and we look forward to seeing a lot of good games. So now let's recognize our players of the week from week 3. So our offensive player of the week, senior wide receiver Josh Black led Calhoun Academy with 7 receptions for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns in Friday's 46-22 home loss to Lee Academy. The Cavaliers will play at Dillon Christian School this Friday in a second region contest. Our ATI Physical Therapy Offensive Player of the Week is Calhoun Academy senior wide receiver Josh Black. Now for our Defensive Player of the Week. Junior linebacker Carson Cohn led Andrew Jackson Academy with 13 tackles in Friday's 44-14 road win at Wardlaw Academy. Cohn also had 2 kick returns for a total of 102 yards, including a touchdown. The defending state champion Warriors are now 3-0 and will play at Faith Christian in Somerville this Friday. Our ATI Physical Therapy Defensive Player of the Week is Andrew Jackson Academy junior linebacker Carson Cohn. And this week's games, I mentioned Andrew Jackson at Faith. Clarendon Hall plays at Newberry Academy. Patrick Henry plays at Holly Hill Academy. Colleton Prep plays at Dorchester Academy. And this is a big one here. Hilton Head Christian Academy plays at Orangeburg Prep. Orangeburg Prep is 3-0. Also, Calhoun Academy plays at Dillon Christian. So we've got some good matchups this week. And next week, we should have a full slate of games with all of our teams playing. So back to you, Coach.
Unmute yourself, Coach.
I got it, buddy. This thing is kind of funny. It says unmute it, and then you touch the opposite of what you want. Chris, thank you so much, Chris. We're pulling for OP. That's our home team. Now, Calhoun County, we used to pull a little bit for them. We've got some hard pulling to do for Calhoun County this year, but OP 2-0. We're pulling for you. And, you know, they said you're not supposed to have prayer in school, but long as they have tests and exams, there will be prayer. Mm-hmm. So we can just rule that out. We don't worry about the rule. Now, Coach Brent Thompson, my favorite guy. Coach, we've been watching you on TV. Your team looks great. And we know you're up against some powerful teams right now, but your team looks great fundamentally, and we just need to score a few more points, but they look well coached and they look great. I hate to say that because Coach Thompson is a great guy and a good friend of the Orangeburg Touchdown Club. Now, without further ado, Buddy Pugh he played for the Bulldogs. He never missed curfew. In high school, he played 3 sports in high school: football, baseball, and hooky. But other than that, he did a great job. So we have Coach Thompson, but now we will call on Coach Pugh to tell us a little bit about the Bulldogs, and while he's on, he's going to introduce our outstanding guest speaker for today, Coach Thompson. Without further ado, and I have to do it as I always do it, our own coach, Coach Oliver Buddy Pugh.
Thank you, my coach, Coach Jeffries. How are you today, everybody? Looks like everybody's doing good. Glad to see you all. Brent, thanks for coming on. I got a little bit scared. I got a little shaky with this technology. I was worried about something happening in the background. I want to kind of give it a little more time, but want to talk a little bit about the Bulldogs. We've got our guys finally coming in. They'll be coming in tomorrow, and we'll be working on doing all these physical exams and testing for the virus and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be getting them in here this Friday, and hopefully by the middle of next week we'll be practicing and that kind of stuff. We just got some legislation passed through the NCAA yesterday where we get a chance to have a fall ball style kind of a drill, which is very similar to a spring practice drill. We get about 30 some odd days to do 15 practices and that kind of stuff. And we'll probably start somewhere around the middle of October. So we'll get our guys in and we'll do some stuff to get them kind of up and running. It's been a long time since I've seen these guys. I hadn't seen them since the 1st of March is when we were here last. And, we're excited as all get out to be getting them back and that kind of stuff. All kind of stuff's going on. I guess you've seen, talk a little bit about football around the country, the Big Ten. Those guys are playing now, or at least they're getting ready to play. And, there's some talk of the Mountain West wanting to get going too. The news of the day Charlotte's got a little bit of an issue going on with one of their offensive linemen. I didn't realize that if you have one offensive lineman to test positive for the virus, then you contract trace the entire rest of that group. Brett, did you know that? I didn't. And so if that should happen, then of course, then that makes them have to postpone. Well, they're actually going to cancel the game. So Charlotte and UNC are not going to play this Saturday because Charlotte had one of his offensive linemen to come up positive here in the last day or so. But, you're starting now to see, a good many of the other leagues at least try to consider trying to come back and play some. I'm hoping that we can get some out there playing, but at the same time, this virus is for real, and we do need to make sure that we're being careful, about, how we go about dealing with the health side of things. Our speaker for the day is Coach Brent Thompson. Brent's the 26th head coach at the Citadel. And I was talking to my son last night, man. I was telling him he's working at the NCAA with a whole bunch of other Citadel guys that we had you coming on today. And he's going to tune in to try to see if he can hear you. I told him, I said, you might ought to send some alumni dues out there, whatever they pay, because I know, he probably coming up short on that deal. But Brent's been the head guy there now since 2016. That year that he got the job, he come out of the chute 10-2, the best record in the history of any of the head coaches that have coached at the Citadel. And, in the time that he's been there, he's 26-20. He's been a top guy in the league almost every year. He had a fantastic win last year. He comes out of the blocks. He's got these two tough CAA teams. He played, I think, Towson and Elon. Played two close games with those guys and come up short at home. And then he goes on the road and beats Georgia Tech in overtime down at Georgia Tech last year. That was one of the more exciting games, last year. I think those guys have now beaten, a division, a bowl subdivision team. Every 4 or 5 years, you hear about them beating up on somebody. They hooked Carolina up there about 5 or 6 years ago. I think you might have been an assistant then, Brent, when that happened. But, he's just a fantastic guy. As Coach said, teams are always the top rushing teams, in the country. And, they just do a fantastic job of always having their teams really super prepared. They're going to play a 4-game schedule this year. I don't know who's scheduling for you, boy. I don't know if he's for you or against you. You got South Florida at South Florida. You got Clemson at Clemson. He gonna play EKU at home. One of my coaches is worrying the hell out of me about coming to see y'all play EKU. So I need to talk with you after. I need to see if I can get a guy in that game. And then they play Army. You go to the military academy and play Army at Army. So let me see if I can get this phone to go off. But it's wonderful to have you here today, Brett. Have at it, as you please. And, we look forward to hearing what you got to say. Coach from the Citadel, Coach Brent Thompson.
Thanks, Coach. Of course, thank you, Coach Jeffries, as well. And you guys are always very kind to me at the Touchdown Club. And anytime that I get an opportunity to speak, it's just great to see you guys still up and operating and doing what you can out there. We've actually got one of your guys starting for us on the offensive line, Ben Brockington, starting from OW, doing a heck of a job for us. Came in here and just was a freshman last year, worked his tail off, had a really nice spring. We were fortunate enough to have a spring football. And he's been earned himself a starting spot and really a good spot in the rotation at the tackle last week. So we're excited to have him. We're excited to have a guy from your area. We also have a couple more guys from your area that are looking to develop and bring up, and hopefully that you'll see those guys here in the future because I do think they've got some bright futures ahead of them here at the Citadel. Coach, I understand what you're going through, and it's tough, not having your team around you. You're a football coach, and I've been here 5 years. We've had 4 hurricanes and a pandemic. And anytime that your team is apart from you when they're supposed to be with you, you feel lost. And I went through that a couple of times with just a hurricane when we evacuated. I'd wander around the house during football season for about a week or 10 days, not knowing what to do with myself, annoying my wife. And really, it's a tough feeling. It's a tough feeling for a coach, especially coach. I know a guy that's been doing it for so long. You're just used to doing it, and you're used to having kids around you. And when you can't, it's very challenging. So I'm glad to see that you're getting your kids back, Coach. It was one of the best feelings when we were able to reconvene and work out. And we started the process in July. We had gotten shut down in July due to some of our own COVID outbreaks as well. We were able to reconvene and get things back together, but it certainly hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy for any one of us. And it's been an opportunity, though. And along the way, we have had our ups and we've had our downs, but the opportunities are great that are within this. A couple of things that we have learned throughout this whole process is the resiliency of the players, the resiliency of our student athletes here, the ability to be able to come together. And we've been away for so long and so many things had pulled us apart in the meantime. We were unfortunate. We went through a situation where we had lost our FCA director, who was very, very important to us. We lost him in the middle to end of March. He was a 2016 grad of the Citadel. Rashad Graham had played at Lake City, had come down here, played a little bit of track and field for us, was actually on my staff, and I was going to hire him to take over one of my quality control jobs because of everything that he had meant to our football program. And that was the first thing that we had to deal with as a team over Zoom. And nothing takes the place of close personal contact in a situation like that. And that was probably the up until that point, the number one most challenging thing that I'd been through in my 5 years as the head coach was dealing with the death of a person that we cared so deeply about. And we relied so heavily upon. Rashad was 24, 25 years old, but he was aged so far beyond his years that he would come into my office and he would ask me how he could pray for me, what he could do for me. And I didn't realize until that he was gone and he had passed of how important that was to me for somebody to take 2 minutes out of their day and check on me, because it doesn't happen very often. A lot of people are afraid to come into my office and sit down and just talk about things. But Rashad had that ability to do that at such a young age. We certainly missed him. And I realized how much more I missed him at the end of June when we went through social injustice issues and things that Rashad could speak to for us and he could put into perspective for us. He would have been very, very useful to the staff, to the players as a resource of a guy that had been in a lot of different scenarios. And he admitted that he may not have always been the best guy out there, and the Citadel had changed him and who he was and what he was about and how it brought him a little bit closer to God. And that was certainly something that we had missed. And then anytime that you're going through any kind of adversity, having your FCA director there was something that we would usually lean upon, and it became a challenging time for us. So we've been navigating this and doing the best that we possibly could. Everything that we knew as far as football was concerned, Coach, and you'll understand this, was out the window. Everything, how we dressed in the locker room, how we met as a staff, how we met as position coaches, how we met as a team. We don't even have the space to be able to meet as a team right now. Locker room has been cut in half. Team room has been cut in 1/3. Position meetings have been cut probably sometimes in less than half, more than half. So we've had to creatively think about how we address practice. We're not out there for 24 periods going at it. We've had to adjust a lot of our timing of our schedules. We're given a block of time by the school to be able to practice and get what we've got to get done in our preparation for South Florida and our preparation for Clemson this week. And those are all challenges that would probably drive you insane as a coach in any other time. But my message to my players was this, is you have an opportunity here. We should be thankful that we are playing. We shouldn't be worried about what we're doing. We shouldn't be worried about all the other things that would normally worry about, whether it's what uniforms we're wearing or what's on our helmets, what's going on here and there. We should just be happy that we're given the opportunity to play and do what we love to do, because that's the way we look at it as a staff. And it's not the best of schedules. It's not the best of the world of schedules for going out there and having easy, winnable games for us. But that's not why we're here. We're here to play football. We're here to bring the guys together and have the ability to be able to compete and do what we love to do. And I thought it was important to be able to get back to that after everything that we had been through over the spring and the summer. That is what feels normal to our players. The locker room, even though it's a little bit off, it still feels normal. Practice feels just about as normal as we can make it. And we're very fortunate as there's not a lot of things that is an advantage or a benefit of having a military college or having a military school, but we are able to have a little bit of control. We're able to house our players in a certain area in a certain way. We mandate masks around here, so we've got we can confine them to campus a little bit more than most colleges could or would. So that works to our benefit, and so far it has been a benefit from us or for us. And we're very fortunate enough to be able to be given the resources to be able to compete because, as you know, Coach, and the one thing that you need in a time like this is resources. We have been able to figure out the testing. We've been able to figure out how we were going to get a schedule put together in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. And then when you put a schedule to matter in 2 or 3 weeks, you got to worry about your travel, your itineraries, and then how does all that fit together? So it's been a hectic 4 or 5 weeks for us. We're happy to be playing. We're happy to have the schedule that we do have. I think there's some exciting games on there. I'm from New York. I grew up in upstate New York, right across the river from West Point. That's going to be a special game for me. The Army was the closest FBS football team to us. Now that was the game that was the football camp I went to growing up. Jim Young, those were the guys that I loved to go watch play. So for me to be given an opportunity to go up there, take my team up there, and show them what the academy looks like and what that environment looks like is going to be awesome. Even though it may not be completely normal up there, but it's going to be a great environment. We're happy that the one game that we did have on the schedule remained was Clemson. Given the opportunity for, I say opportunity, but given the opportunity to play the number one team in the country for the third time in the last 6 years since I've been here, it's certainly a blessing. We like to be given those opportunities. We've taken advantage of some of them. We've played fairly well in most of them. So we're expecting ourselves to go up there and compete as best we possibly can with Clemson, and we certainly thank them for keeping us on the schedule when things were looking a little bit bleak at times. Having at least one game on our schedule made a huge difference to the psyche of our players, our coaches, and our administration, because when you were facing the 4 or 5 week stretch in camp where you didn't know what your schedule was going to look like, whether you were going to be able to play games was disconcerting to the players. We had been practicing, we had been training for a week or two. Elon dropped, the SoCon dropped, Charleston Southern dropped late from us. And at one point we were left with no opponents, and trying to motivate and keep players out there practicing and driving them forward through hard and difficult times was something that I had never really been tasked with before, and hopefully never again, but certainly not the easiest thing to be able to accomplish in a short amount of time. So through the staff and administration, we were able to get through it, get what I think is a tremendous schedule. And hopefully, as Coach can attest to, we get something that resembles a SoCon or a MEAC schedule going on here in the spring. And we look forward to at least playing a little bit of spring football and giving our kids, every kid that's at the FCS level, an opportunity to be able to play and compete. So thanks again. I appreciate you guys having me on. Always a pleasure. And I certainly missed the lunch though, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me, buddy?
We hear you.
Okay, Coach Thompson, thank you so much. And here's something you didn't know, Coach Thompson. I was offered the job at West Point, and I drug out. I couldn't make my mind up. And about that time, Coach Jim Young resigned at Purdue, and they were fortunate to have Coach Jim Young to come in because they were looking for a coach who could run option football. But anyway, Coach Thompson, thank you. Tell your quarterback to come downhill a little bit to the inside shoulder of the 9 technique. And if they put cover 1 on you, that'll be the strong safety coming up in there to take the quarterback. Tell him what Coach Jeffries said. It's not like old Jack Thompson, whatever name that you all had when you beat Carolina that year. But I'm just watching you a little bit on your option football. Now, what you want, buddy?
Stop giving away all my secrets there, Coach.
I want to ask him a question.
Okay.
I want to ask him a question too.
Go ahead, Buddy, and ask. Buddy has a question, and we do have some questions for you, Coach Thompson.
Okay.
I want to ask you about your spring, but I think you answered that one. But what are your guys? I mean, are they in school? Is the entire student body there in school going to regular face-to-face classes?
Yeah, so we are all here. The Corps Cadets is here. We are attending classes. Now, not everybody attends class every day. They do have a virtual hybrid, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They'll go maybe 1 or 2 of those days a week, and then it'll flip-flop. The only classes that will traditionally meet are the engineering classes, the more hands-on classes in the labs.
Okay. And y'all are going to try to play a schedule of spring because you can play as many as 8 games in the spring. How many games would y'all try to play?
We would try to play 8. The conference is pushing for 8 right now, just 8 league games. And that would still give us an opportunity to be able to compete for the SoCon title, which is ultimately what we're looking for.
Okay.
Coach, I got a question.
Yeah, Rob Hibbets, I know
first, Coach, you got to see that I got my Citadel shirt on. Let me see if I got my Citadel shirt on. Okay. My question is, most of the schools are having economic disaster. You've been able to play 2 pretty nice games last week and against Clemson this week. So the Citadel must be very proud of your economic efforts.
Well, yeah, all 3 of our games put together, it'll be around $900. It'll be about $930,000. Now, the one thing that is a strain on all of that, which the school has stepped up, the administration has stepped up. What you have to realize here is that when all of our cadets left in March, we were fortunate enough at the beginning of May to have about between 300 and 500 Marines on campus where they were quarantining before they were heading towards Parris Island. And that ended up subsidizing a lot of the money that we had to, of course, hand back that most schools did for room and board. It also subsidized some of the things that I would imagine that we had to change over. We had to get a little bit more. We're not built for virtual learning. So I think it had to help with that. I believe it also helped with our testing. It also helped with a lot of the protocols, what the Marines were doing and what the government was doing with the Marines. Gave us a pretty good blueprint of how we needed to operate or what we needed to do in that amount of time to get it done. So on that end of things, I think we were beneficial of that as well. As far as the guarantee games for us, it will, football ticket sales and everything all included, we're about a $1.1 million operation, somewhere in there. We will still fall a little bit short. We're just happy to be able to come close to it and hopefully operate as normal as possible without having furloughs and those things.
That's great. That's great.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Coach, I do want to let you know, Coach Thompson, that in the old days, I think you had started coaching at the Citadel. Frank Waters Jr. used to do our cakes at the Touchdown Club, and the team that the coach was speaking from whatever school, we would put the logo on the cake. And I had to get on him. If we'd have a coach from Carolina, he'd have the Gamecock on there, but every week he put the little Citadel Bulldog at the bottom of that cake. And I almost had to fire Frank Waters Jr. But Coach, we appreciate you and we thank you so much. And I must tell the audience that Coach Brent Thompson majored in war and peace. That was his major at the military school he went to. he majored in war and peace. And I always ask him, what courses did you take to do a major like that? But he and I have been good buddies, and thank you, Coach. And now we're going to bring on the president of the Orangeburg Touchdown Club. Rob has done a tremendous job. Let's welcome the president, Mr. Rob Hibbets.
Thank you, Coach. Of course, I want to thank Coach Thompson for joining us today. Really appreciate him opening up and tell us where he's been and where he's going. And it's a very tough period of time, and he's obviously handled it very well, and we wish him the best of luck. Coach and Buddy and Chris, I thank you, but if I hear one more time without further ado, I think I'm going to throw up. So we need to work on that a little bit. Also like to
don't worry about the mule, just load the wagon.
Like to congratulate again the players of the week, Josh and Carson. Wish them a lot of success for the rest of the season. Again, we're disappointed that we couldn't get the coach and the parents in like we do all the time. So we wish them the best of luck. Our speaker next week is Tony Elliott, who's the offensive coordinator for Clemson. So I think that ought to be very, very interesting. Looking forward to that. And I'm going to repeat my pick'em contest. So if you got a pencil handy, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to, first of all, pick the winner of the game. Second of all, the winner of the game against the spread, which I'll give you. And third, the total points that both teams score together. And the games are Notre Dame -26 against South Florida. That's Notre Dame -26 against South Florida. Wake Forest is the second game. Wake Forest versus NC State. NC State is -3. Wake Forest versus NC State -3. And the last game is Boston College versus Duke -6. So it's Boston College versus Duke -6. And those Chestnut Grill Pick'em contest entries have to be sent to Andy Hunter, which is Hunter, HAHUNTER at Culpepper, CULPEPER, wood.com. That's Hunter, HUNTER at CULPEPER, wood.com. And we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
Chestnut
Rob,
Grill's
one
been
interruption.
over the years, and we look forward to
One interruption, Rob. Some ambiguity has set in with you. Tell them who's got the -6. You gave the game, but you didn't tell them which team is -6 in that last ball game.
Without further ado, I'll tell you, it's Boston College versus Duke -6. Duke is -6. NC State Wake is -3, and Notre Dame is -26 against South Florida. Good luck to everybody. Hope all the high schools have great games next week, and you all stay safe and healthy. And we'll look forward to seeing each and every you next week. Thanks very much.
Chris, do I have to get you to be the referee in this game?
Without further ado, Rob's not used to high class MCs.